Now, Hamish is out of the studio too to show us some new wallpaper trends, and he challenged producer Jazz to hang some herself. How did it go?
That's right, wallpaper is back. I mean, it's been around for the last few years, but it's just growing year in, year out. We're seeing a huge array of options. There's something for everyone now. You've got botanicals and plant prints. So you've got things like bamboo, you've got cherry blossom branches, you've got fruit salad leaves, you've got animals mixed in with that sort of thing as well. You can even have geometric patterns such as horizontal lines, vertical lines, triangles, squares, rectangles, circles, and everything in between. You've got textured wallpapers, so you can have things that look like concrete shuttered walls and timber paneling. One of the things we don't have in New Zealand is a lot of old buildings. When I say old buildings, we don't have the loft sort of buildings, we don't have the brickwork, we don't have the big timber paneling through older structures. So if you're into the loft sort of industrial look, wallpaper's the answer for you. You can easily bring in stuff that looks like real brick, feels kind of like brick, and at a distance will always look like brick to give your room that industrial loft look without actually having to try and build a brick wall, which, let's face it, is not easy. When it comes to choosing wallpaper for whichever particular room you want to do, there are not a huge amount of rules. It does come down to what you like, but you should start thinking about how patterns work. How are you going to dress the rest of the room at the end? You don't really want to have a beautiful ornate wallpaper and then turn around and have incredibly over-the-top bedding or incredibly over-the-top curtain fabric. You might want to tone those down so as the wallpaper is doing what it's meant to be, which is to be a feature in the room. Color-wise, you need to think about how much natural light is in the room. Do you want the room to feel closed in and darker? Some people like the bedroom to be that sanctuary. Or do you want it to feel open and light and breezy? You might stick more with the pastels. Things to think about though are the lineal layout of the wallpaper. So if you've got a print that has tall vertical structures on it, so whether or not that's a tall vertical geometric line or if it's in a botanical, it might be something like the bamboo prints that are out there, that can give a space that might have a lower stud height a sense of height and grandeur across the back of the wall. Also, if you don't have a particularly long room, you might want to switch to something that's more horizontal to stretch the feeling of the room out. It's worth poring over the books. It's actually a lot of fun to sit down, flick through wallpaper books and see what you're getting. It's nice to be able to touch it and get a sense of what it is. Failing that, if you can't get into a resin store, you can always jump online to their website and they've got all of them up there for you. And when you start scrolling, you'll see what we mean about there are a heap of options. Okay, so let's get down to it. Who doesn't love a challenge? I love them. I grabbed Jasmine, my producer, and said, you're gonna wallpaper a wall. And she was up for the task. I think the key here is reading the instructions, getting to your resin store to make sure you've got all the right gear you need, and to be fair, a dollop of patience. Something I don't have, but she apparently does, and she's up for it. The tools that you need are a wallpaper straight edge levelly thing, a sharp craft knife, wallpaper size, wallpaper paste, but for the full list, check out the resin website. The process: clean walls thoroughly with sugar soap. Then you need to size the walls, mix up your paste well. Please read the instructions, they are on the box and it pays to follow them. Jazz chose from the Van Gogh range, the Cherry Blossom. It's an indent product from Holland, so you might need to wait a couple of weeks, but it's well worth it. A super important step, cutting the wallpaper. So what you need to do here is you need to measure the wall, you need to add a little bit more on for what you're going to need to trim, and if you've got a pattern repeat like Jazz did, which was about 36 centimeters, you need to account for that as well. Sounds simple? She did a great job. And let's face it, it's expensive stuff sometimes. You don't want to get it wrong. Measure twice, cut once. The most important step is going to be your first drop. So you've got to make sure you've used your plumb line so you've got a straight line to follow to. Remember, not all houses are actually square. Thanks to the magic of modern television, Jasmine's already halfway through the project. I think now it's time to look at some troubleshooting with paste. Remember to glue to the edge of the paper and brush in to get close if you need to. You've got about 10 to 15 minutes before the paste dries. You've got ample time to adjust your patterns and make sure everything lines up. Take your time with this because this is really, really important. And then once it's up, remember you've got to smooth out the bubbles. So you want to start with your wallpaper smoother in the middle of the sheet and work your way out to the edge. That way you're going to get perfect joins and wrinkle-free paper. Push into the corner and trim with a sharp knife. All right, here we go. Are you ready? We're going to see the finished result. I love everything about it. The colour, the texture, the artist, the topic, and to be honest, how well it's been put up. Beautiful work, Jazz. You win the competition.
Oh, that's impressive, gorgeous, and I love the pattern there. It's a beautiful
awesome.
wallpaper, Jazz. Nice choice. Now, to get the look, head to resine.co.nz.